All right, now let's go straight to the chat. I've got a question for you all. Have you used Adobe Express before? Yes or no? Quick response in the chat, please, everybody. Haley says yes. Erin's a no, Lauren's a no. And there's an interesting name here, Haley. It's Tani Denton.
Tani.
Tani, there you go. Tani. Hi, Tani. And Darcy has and has. All right, so we've got a bit of a mix.
Wonderful.
And Chaz too. So it looks like most of you have used it, but a few of you haven't. So we'll go through the basics of how to get started, and then we'll get into it. You'd be very happy to know, those who have used it before, that just last week we made the generative AI tool available to all K-12 schools.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. Of course, your school system has the ability to switch it off. So if it's not on, they've probably switched it off at their end. We'll have a little play with that. But it's a lot of fun and good to work with. All right, let's get started. All that infographic with Adobe Express. The first thing I want you to do is to go into Adobe Express. I'm going to put a link into the chat and make sure this goes to everybody in the meeting. That's a quick link to get into Adobe Express. If you just click on that link that's in the chat now, that'll take you straight to the page. Otherwise, you can look at the link that I've got on the slide, adobe.com/express. This is probably the simplest way of getting in. For those of you who are new to Adobe Express, it's the very basic introduction to the world of digital design with Adobe. It's browser-based, it's app-based, although the new version, the new app's coming out later this year. You've still got the old version on the apps at the moment. The new version is amazing. In fact, someone the other day described it as Canva on steroids. Oh, wow, that's a big statement, but pretty cool. So hopefully you've all gone into it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring across what it should look like when you're in there. And you'll notice there is a sign in tool, the top right hand, if you haven't already signed in, top right hand corner. Let me just bring that up there so you can see. So where it says sign in at the top right, not sign up, but sign in, because hopefully you've already been set up by your school system at the back end to be able to access the full premium version of Adobe Express. It's totally free of charge. There's no cost. You don't even have to have Adobe licenses, but even if you've got just a handful of licenses at your school for products like Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Illustrator, InDesign, Acrobat, all of our amazing tools, you can make sure every teacher and every student gets Adobe Express totally for free and the full premium version of it. Otherwise, if the school hasn't done that for you, and I'll give you some information about how to do that if the school hasn't done it for you, you can sign in with just your social media accounts, but then you're going to get the free version. You have to be over 13 and it's not K-12 friendly. So I highly encourage you and your school to make sure you're set up properly at the back end. But if you haven't already, go through the free version so at least you've got something to play with for this particular session. So ideally, you've signed in with that little sign in button. And then when you go, please don't sign in with Google, Facebook, Apple, unless you know your school hasn't set you up. To check if the school set you up, go and continue with email, put in your school email address, and hopefully it'll just open up beautifully and you'll get the full version like I explained earlier. If it says no luck, sorry, your school hasn't set you up, we'll talk about that later, then go ahead and log in with your Google, Facebook, Apple, or your free Adobe ID or your Adobe Creative Cloud account if you've got one. There's lots of different ways. Just ignore where it says K-12 teachers and students at the moment, because that is just for schools in America where we've got a system which we're hopefully going to get in place soon, where you can set up your own little LMS just for Express for your classroom, which is going to be wonderful when it's set up. But at the moment, it's just for North America. Now, while we're waiting for everyone to get set up and logged into Adobe Express, we're going to play a little game. And let's see, I'm going to pick on some people to start with. Let me get my little participants list opening up here. I'm going to start with, Haley, do we have a whole lot of people in the waiting room at the moment, or is it just...
Let me have a look. Yep, we've got a couple. They're just coming in now.
Great. So bring them all in, and I'll just repeat those instructions again. And we'll just do that really quickly once around. While we're waiting for them to come in, let's start with the little game. I'm going to start with, actually, we'll go for a volunteer. Who would like to play the game first? The idea is, which of these Adobe apps or resources can you name and describe? And I want you to name 2 of them, just 2. Who's going to be first in the chat to have a go first? Go to the chat quickly. Let us know who's going to be first in the chat to have a go and play the game. You only have to name 2 of these Adobe applications and explain what they do. All right, Kelly, you're first in. Now, Kelly, can Kelly open up her microphone? Is that possible?
Yep.
Haley?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over the different icons, and I want you to say stop when we get to the one you want to explain. All right, I'm starting now.
Oh, InDesign. InDesign.
We've gone past it. So this one's InDesign. What does InDesign do, Kelly?
It's just a desktop publisher program.
Nice. What do you mean, just a desktop publishing program?
Just.
It is
Probably
the
the best.
desktop publishing program. What do you mean, probably the best? Oh my goodness, Kelly. You know that 80% of all books, magazines, and newspapers all over the world are laid out with Adobe InDesign. If I click on that little link, there it is, Adobe InDesign. And you're absolutely spot on. It's a desktop publishing tool. Well done, Kelly. One more, Kelly. Let's go. I'm going to keep moving now. Tell me when to stop.
I better unmute myself, and I did say Photoshop.
Oh, did you? You're way back there. All right.
I'm
would help there,
so
Kelly.
sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. We're getting the idea how the game works.
And that's a graphics editor.
Quick
Yeah,
tip,
nice.
everybody. If you hold down your space bar, it'll actually unmute you if you're on mute in Zoom.
Good tip.
That's a good tip. I didn't know that one.
Hover your
Good.
hand over.
Well, Kelly, let's give Kelly a round of applause because she got 2 out of 2. Well done, InDesign and Photoshop. Let's play one more round. Just before we do, though, those people who've just come in, we've got some important information for you. And that is to jump into this link here, which I'm going to bring back into the chat again to make sure you've got access, because this is a hands-on workshop. It's not a demonstration. And Haley, just remind me what time we finish, if you wouldn't mind.
We finish at 4:30, so it's an hour.
Excellent. Good. So go into that link. Once you're in that particular link, sign in, top right-hand corner, with your school credentials by clicking the continue with email, put in your school credentials, and hopefully that'll give you access to the full premium version of Adobe Express. If it doesn't, then because you're over 13, you can sign in with your social media accounts, or your Apple account, your Adobe ID, if you've got any of those, but you won't get the full premium version, and you won't get the K-12 friendly version. You'll just get the 13 plus version that has some limitations. So I highly encourage you to log in with your school account, and hopefully your school has already set you up properly at the back end. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, one more go with this round. Who would like to have a go? Thank you, Kelly, for being our first one in. Go to the chat. Who would like to have a go? You just need to name 2 more Adobe applications while people are logging in. Who's it going to be? The volunteers. Otherwise, Haley, I'm going to get you to choose someone, which is putting the pressure on Haley. You got 5 seconds to quickly nominate yourself. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I've actually noticed in the chat some people are already typing in.
Oh, is anyone typing in any
everything,
that they know of?
Antonia's decided, she's typed in Acrobat and InDesign, and yeah, that's the only person who's done it. All right, Haley, can you pick on someone? Who is it going to be?
Let's try Darcy. Darcy, do you know any of those?
Darcy, see if you can name 2 that haven't been mentioned yet.
Or even 1.
Dreamweaver.
Well
Dreamweaver.
done.
Yeah, well
For
done.
making responsive websites.
Excellent.
Fabulous.
Well done. It is our web development tool. And Darcy, do you know what languages it actually codes in? Putting you on the spot there,
sorry.
Darcy. So HTML, which is fairly obvious because that's the web language for websites, but it also codes in CSS, which is cascading style sheet language for websites, but it also codes in JavaScript. So you can actually build apps with Dreamweaver. And it's a great tool because you have the coding on one side of your screen, and then what you're creating appears on the other side. So if you don't want to do any coding, you can do it all as a WYSIWYG, like what you see is what you get, drop and drag as we're used to. Or if you are into coding, you can do it all as the coding. Really cool tool. Used to be the standard for web development, but these days people are using WordPress and all sorts of other things that are not coding based. So it's no longer the standard. All right, Darcy, one more and then we'll get on with this workshop. One more. What's it going to be, Darcy?
Rush.
Rush. Excellent. Over here. Now, Darcy, what is Rush?
It's like a video editing program.
It certainly is. It is
Thanks,
video
Darcy.
editing on the go. It's all about video editing on your phone or on your tablet device or on your desktop or your laptop. It's a cut down version of, hey, Darcy, open up your microphone again. Do you know what the main video editing application is from Adobe? You there, Darcy, still?
She might be looking.
I've scared her off, have I? Who can
You
go to the
might
chat?
have.
Who can go to the chat? Tell us, what's the main video editing
Oh,
application?
Erin. Erin has
Good.
popped in the
Well,
chat, Premiere Pro. Well done.
Well, Erin just said Premiere, and
She
Rush
did.
is also known as Premiere. So it's Premiere Rush
It is.
or Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro is, so well done, Erin. Premiere Pro is the industry standard video editing tool. In fact, Marvel Studios use Premiere Pro. And I know grade 4 kids who use Premiere Pro, the exact same version as Marvel use, grade 4 kids are using, because they've got it and they love it. And that's so amazing. And the reason why I mentioned that is because Premiere Rush is a cut down version of Premiere Pro. In Premiere Pro, you can have up to 96 layers of video and 96 layers of audio that you mix all together. No one uses 96 layers. Not even Marvel Studios use 96 layers. But in Premiere Rush, you have 4 layers of video, 4 layers of audio, and that gives you plenty to work with. It's such a cool video editing solution. Right, the one we're working with today is this one here, Adobe Express. And it is also, I wouldn't call it a video editing solution. It's more like a video storytelling tool, but it's also a way of creating posters and graphics and web pages. And it's a very basic, as I said earlier, introduction to this massive world of design tools that just about every school in Australia now has provided for all of their students. So Adobe Express is really common in primary schools, year 7, year 8, and year 9. When you get to about year 8 or 9, kids start to get a bit sick of the limitations of a browser-based tool, and they want to use the more professional tool. And the beauty of working with the Adobe tools is you can start with Express. Once you hit that ceiling, you can burst through it by using and learning the Pro tools and getting your students to learn it. All right, that's enough. Let's go to the chat now. Can you give us a yes or a no? Have you logged into Adobe Express? Quickly, yes or no in the chat. We've got a yes, 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 yes.
Fabulous.
Good to go, Haley. Excellent. All right,
Wonderful.
I've logged in with Chrome. And I'm going to recommend you use Chrome or you use Edge or you use Safari. I just noticed that Firefox is not giving you all the functionality these days, especially the new generation AI tools. Firefox is a bit limited, so we're not recommending Firefox. But you'll be able to do the infographics and all of that, but you'll just have a bit of an issue with some of the Gen AI tools if you've got those available. When you first log in, it's got this like a promotional screen, which only just recently came up, which is a bit annoying actually. If you scroll down, you can see what it should look like. So the best thing to do once you're logged in is to click on this button here, which says Get Adobe Express Free. That'll take you into the full editable Adobe Express. And any second now, it should look like what I've got sharing on my screen now. What do you want to make? And I love that sentence because that's what Express is all about. It's about making things. It's a creation tool. And now in K-12, as of last week, we've opened up all these new Gen AI tools. So text to image, text effects. And we've got a new beta version, which may not be in the K-12 version just yet. It's text to template. I'm not going to spend any time on that now, but it's just amazing if you want to join that beta and have a look at the Gen AI tools. Let's have a quick look at text to image though. If you want to click on text to image as well, and let's start by describing, let's create an image that's never existed before ever in the history of this planet. And who am I going to pick on? I'm going to pick on Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you open up your microphone and tell me what your favorite animal is?
Hi, my favorite animal is a cat.
Okay, what's the cat wearing?
A bow tie.
Okay, and where is the cat located?
The cat is located in just trying to picture somewhere where cats don't normally in water. In an ocean.
In an ocean? In an ocean. Okay. A cat wearing a bow tie in an ocean. All right, we're going to do a virtual countdown from 10 when I click my enter key. You ready, everyone? Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. There are 4 cats wearing bow ties in the ocean. And Haley, is it Haley? Elizabeth,
Yeah.
sorry, Elizabeth. Can you tell me which one you prefer? This is the first option. This is the second option. This is the third option. And this is the fourth option. Which one do you like best?
I like the third.
Third one. All right, that's pretty cool.
So
And of
my
course, if you want something a little bit more realistic rather than this artistic version, you can always scroll up and change it from art to photo. And then wait another 10 seconds, I think, or do I need to click generate? I think I have to click generate. Wait about 10 seconds or less, depending on your Wi-Fi. Sometimes it's like instant. Sometimes it's quite slow. We're starting to get a slightly more realistic, thanks for your feedback. I need to do that now. Slightly more realistic looking rather than an artistic, depending on what you've described. What I need to let you know is that whatever you create here with this Gen AI tool, it's copyright free. It's royalty free. You can use it, you can publish it, because every image that's been trained, like obviously there's at least 1 or 2 images of a cat that's been used, some images of water, obviously an image of a bow tie and other assets. They've all been trained and put together through this tool. Every one of those images is from Adobe stock, which is royalty-free assets that you can use and publish. The reason why I'm pointing that out is because there are other alternatives out there that do similar things, but they're currently being sued because they're just grabbing images from anywhere that may be copyrighted or not. And you need to think carefully about if you're going to introduce a tool like this to your students, do you just let them go for free and just grab anything and produce something that they can then publish? Someone the other day produced something with another product, and it actually had the Getty copyright logo, part of it anyway, in one of the trained images, which is why Getty is currently suing that organization for billions of dollars. So just be careful about when you come across these Gen AI tools, what are the ethical ones and what are not the ethical ones? It's a good conversation to have with your students as well. So we've just created an image here. And if we're going to be building an infographic and we want to create an image that never existed before, we want to, then we could do that. We could create an image and use it as part of our infographic. But I'm going to suggest we might do something a bit simpler. We might start with a template first and build an infographic from a template. It makes it a lot easier. What we're going to do is Wikipedia start by playing this little video, which gives you information about what infographics are, and then we'll just jump into one. So here is me before I had my beard. Wikipedia defines infographics as graphic visual representations of information, data, or knowledge intended to present information quickly and clearly. We see infographics all over the place. If you think about it, street signs are infographics. The sign on a toilet door is an infographic. Even billboards and other advertisements are a type of infographic because they generally feature visual representation of information quickly and clearly to get across a message. Infographics can improve learning by using images to enhance the human's visual ability to see patterns and trends. You've probably heard the saying, a picture tells 1,000 words. Well, it's true. Our brain is hardwired to recognize and recall information through imagery much quicker than through reading text. In many subject areas, teachers and students are encouraged to communicate what can often be complicated content in a simple way. And doing so as an infographic can be really helpful. One of the great things about working with Adobe Express is that it comes linked directly with millions of images through Adobe Stock, thousands of shapes, design assets, and templates to help make the creation of infographics a relatively simple process. All right, so that's enough of an introduction. Let's actually create an infographic. We're going to build an infographic that is based on the 3 most important skills to thrive according to ongoing research from the World Economic Forum, and with their future of, it should be future of work studies, not future of world studies. I'll fix it up later. Can you go to the chat and tell me, what do you think are the 3 most important skills for people to thrive according to the World Economic Forum? Let's see if we get them right, because that's what our infographic is going to be based on. Communication is not necessarily one of them, although it relates to them. Thank you, Erin. Creativity, well done, Hayley. Creativity has been in the top 5 for the last, well, since 2016's Future of Work study. So well done. Creativity is definitely one of them. Use of technology kind of applies to all of them. Vision kind of applies to them as well. Isn't specifically one of them. Critical thinking has been in the top 5. It's not one we're going to be focusing on, but it absolutely has been. Hasn't been in every study, but it has been in the top 5. Problem solving, well done, Lauren. That's been the number 1 for many, many years. So creativity, problem solving, and there's one more that I'm hoping you come up with. I'll give you a clue. There we go, collaboration. You got it right. So we could actually include critical thinking here too, because that's been right up there. In fact, let's do that. Let's make it the 4: critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. So to do this, let's jump back to Adobe Express and go up to the top left-hand corner. And right at the top left-hand corner is your Adobe Express logo. Go ahead and click that. That'll take you back to your dashboard, back to where you started. When you're in your dashboard, you've got this All button. And if you keep it with All, but you can go to Templates if you wanted to and just decide what you want to search for. But if you go searching for infographics, it's going to start, and if I had that back on All, it's going to actually search all the related content that relates to infographics that I've already built, or that are templates, or that are photos. And if I keep scrolling through, there should be other options too. Infographic, I'll put an S on the end and see if that opens it up. But there are so many different things. This is a nice little search engine to look for different elements. There's videos on infographics, backgrounds that you could use for your infographics, design assets as well. But let's go to the templates. And if we click the View All button for the template section, let's just go through it and have a look at a template that we think could be a nice one to work with. Remember, we've got 4 skills that we want to focus on. And I'm thinking this might be a good one. You can choose whatever template you want. This is the one I'm going to choose because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements here that I want to present. So I'm going to click on that one, and it's nice and clear. I don't necessarily like the black background, but we can start playing with this. Once you've got your template open, ready to edit, let's start by editing just the heading. Notice that this has got everything grouped together. All of those assets are grouped together. I can click and drag the whole thing, which is great once they're done, but if we're going to re-edit them, I want to go and ungroup them. So on the left-hand side is my ungroup button. I'll go ahead and ungroup. I can now individually move these around. And before we start doing too much, let's just change some of the text. And the text will be skills to thrive. But feel free to make it your own. Be as creative as you like. And let's get rid of the how to. Oops, I got rid of the wrong one. And then feel free to move your new heading up and about. Notice as you're clicking on these different assets, on the left-hand side appears a whole range of tools to help you manipulate whatever that asset is. If it's text, you're going to get text tools. If it's an icon or a design element, you're going to get design element tools. So it keeps it fairly simple. Unlike some of our professional tools that provide all the different options pretty much for you, which gets a bit overwhelming at times. One of the things I do love about the text tools is that the first thing it does, it starts to recommend different fonts, and you can start selecting ones that they recommend if you want to. And if you ever see a black crown, it means that you've got access to those fonts. It means you've logged into the full premium version through your school account. If you come across a gold crown at any point, it means you haven't got access. It means you're going to be asked to pay a license for whatever that asset is, which is another good reason to make sure that you've set your school up so you don't have any gold crowns to worry about. You get the full premium version, totally free of charge for every K-12 school on the planet. But the school does need to be set up. And some do that centrally, some do that individually. And we'll talk about that a little bit later if your school hasn't been set up yet. You can change the fonts here. One of the things I wanted to show you quickly is this text effects, which is a bit of Gen AI tool. If we click text effects, what we can do is we can describe what we want the font to look like. I'm just going to zoom in a bit more on the heading here. And I'm going to describe it. In fact, I'm going to pick on someone. Let's see. Tani. You knew it was going to be you, didn't you? Open up your microphone. Tani, let's describe how we want this font to look, the texture of this font. What sort of texture do you think we could have on this font?
Bubbly.
Bubbly, I love it. Bubbles, maybe bubbles? Let's just go with bubbles. And give it, again, 10-second countdown if we want to, but it shouldn't take too long. What's going to happen is we're going to get 4 different results here. It'll start building them into the font, and then you can decide which of the 4 you like best. There's a first one, a second one, a third, and a fourth. It's choosing the first one randomly. Which one do you like best there, Tani?
Maybe the third one.
Third one, okay, choose that one. So that's now going to load that third one into that heading. While it's doing that, I'm also thinking that eventually I want this to be more than just an infographic that has that resolution. I actually want it to maybe be an A4 size, or even better still, I might want it to be like a widescreen infographic that I could eventually make into a video and have it as an animated infographic. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button here that says resize up near the top left-hand corner. And when you click resize, you're going to get all these different resolutions to play with. In the K-12 friendly version, you probably, I'm not sure, you can probably tell me do you have all these social media options as well? Because we're starting to cut those away from K-12. Anyone who's logged in with their school account, do you have those social media options or not?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you've logged in with your school account?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we've hidden the social media side of it from the beginning, but once you dig into it, it does appear there. The reason we've had a lot of requests from teachers around the world saying, please don't push the social media side of Adobe Express, because students don't use social media, apparently. Anyway, so we've sort of hidden it from the start, but it is there, just in case you do want to create a TikTok video without actually putting it on TikTok, if you know what I mean, just for a bit of fun as a little activity. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this video option. It's just a nice standard widescreen option. And now I've got the same content of my infographic, but I've got it as a widescreen, and I'm going to rescale things now. And I'm going to move some of these different elements around. Because they're grouped again, it's just a little bit tricky to ungroup them. You might want to separately. I'll just go ahead and change this bit of text. So problem solving. Hayley, have you got the full school version?
Yep.
Yourself?
Yes.
What I'm going to get you to do, just because we've only got 20 minutes left, is I'm going to invite you to collaborate and share with me with my one, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the way to do that, if you want a group of people working on the same project at the same time, is you go up to this little button here that says invite. And I'm going to click invite. And Hayley, can you just repeat to me your email? Are you happy to repeat your email address? Is
Absolutely. Hayley, Hay,
Yep.
L-E-Y.
Oh, sorry.
Y. Yep. Do you want me to just pop it in chat?
H-A-Y, alleyway. Yeah, it might be better. Put it in chat. It might be quicker rather than worrying about my typing under pressure.
There's always a
Um,
slip up when it comes to my last name because it's Birtwistle without a H and Bert with an
okay.
E.
So I'm just pasting. Oh, no, I'm not. Is that here? Copy and
Does that let you do it?
Zoom's often a little bit tricky with that. Let's just see. There we go. That's worked.
Done.
Please, I'll just say, please help. And I'm going to invite you. So Hayley, you're going to get an email, but before you even go and check your email, because you're in Adobe Express, what you could do is jump back to the dashboard again, Hayley, at the top left-hand corner.
Yep.
And if you go to this button here that says Your Stuff, and you'll see all of your projects, but more importantly, on the right-hand side, you should be able to change it from yours to shared with you. And they'll be sitting there, my project that I've shared with you. And if you wouldn't mind opening it, and then I'm going to just go back to my stuff and reopen up where we were. And in a couple of seconds, I should start seeing your cursor floating around my project. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to change the background because it's so dark, this background. And it might be what you're wanting, or it might not be. How are you going, Hayley? Is it working for you?
It hasn't come through yet, Tim.
Okay. Maybe go to your email and just check.
Yeah,
that,
I am
it's
just
come
double
through that way.
checking. I'm wondering if it came. Let's make sure it hasn't gone to a folder. And no,
Out
it
of the
doesn't
four.
look like it's come through. So might
Okay.
need to.
Well, I'm
Maybe
going
it
to
was.
ask for a volunteer, someone who's got the full version, or actually it should work for any version, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you're happy to put your email address into the chat, then I'm going to invite you and then get you to help me build out this infographic with me. So who's going to be the first one to try that for us? Thank you, Elizabeth.
Well done, Elizabeth. Thank you.
It's all right.
I'm going to copy that. And
It's come
hopefully-
through now.
Oh, has
So
it?
we'll have three.
We'll have the three of you. I'll say
Wonderful.
thanks and invite. So there is a bit of a time delay, but once you're in, it's all real time. And so Elizabeth, you, if you can repeat what Hayley did, either go to your email or go to your stuff and find it, we should be able to see your cursor floating around. There's Hayley's cursor. Excellent. And Hayley, I just realized I've picked a template that's actually a little bit cumbersome. So we need to get rid of all of these groupings for this to work. So if you want to jump in and change some of the text to critical thinking and collaboration, and just have a play and move things around the screen. And then Elizabeth's going to join us as well. And because we only need 4, I'm going to get rid of this last element here because we don't need that. Sometimes it's better to start without a template and you don't have all these grouping issues that flow. So I don't know why this heading here, it's grouped all the text. Let me ungroup that. That's probably why. There we go. That's a little bit easier now that we've ungrouped the text. So now, without me even doing anything, the content is starting to build out. And I'm really keen to change the background. So I'm going to jump over to up the top here, it says background color. By clicking that, I'm just going to change it to something a little bit lighter. Maybe not too light because it's going to clash with some of our other colors. That'll do. But I'm thinking it's time to bring in some images that represent these different elements. So on the left-hand side, there's a button called Media. And when you click on the Media button, we can bring in photos from Adobe Stock. We can bring in videos from Adobe Stock. We can bring in audio assets. There are thousands of little songs. And if we get time, we'll turn it into a video and show you that. But right now, we're going to stick with photos. Go to search photos. I'm just going to search for a photo that represents problem solving. And just see how many problem solving. Oh, Haley's already found one for us. That looks great, Haley. And Haley, can I get you to do something for me? Select that picture. And once you've selected that picture, you'll see there's a button on the left-hand side called Remove Background. Can you click on that? And then that white will disappear. And that picture will just be there without the white background. It'll give it, it'll be much better look. So any second now, that photo is going to be, oh, it didn't do the bubble, did it? That's okay, let's create another bubble. It must have thought the bubble was part of the background. So Haley, what you could do is jump to the elements section on the left-hand side and go searching for speech bubbles. And then bring in a different speech. There we go. Nice. That's looking good because that'll look fantastic with that. Elizabeth's found an image that relates to collaboration, it looks like. So she's moving that in. There's no background issue there. What you might want to do, Elizabeth, is play with the different filters that are available on the image side. I'm going to get rid of keep your audience in mind. And what are we missing here? Creativity, collaboration, problem solving. Oh, we're missing probably the most important one, which is creativity. And I'm wanting to move that out of the way. So while you're watching this magnificent infographic come to life, hopefully you're also playing with your own infographics and you're building your own out. I'm not going to spend much more than a couple more minutes on this, because hopefully you're getting the idea of how it works, and it's just a matter of how much time you want to spend on it. I might open it up to some questions in a second, but that's starting to really take shape and look pretty cool. One of the most important graphics that appears in an infographic is an arrow, so that you can sort of point to different things. Oh, actually, whoever did that, let's not jump into the timeline yet, because that'll be the next stage. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's just keep this as a still image for the moment. If we go to elements, for instance, and if I do a search for arrow, we should be able to find 1,000 different arrows. And I'm just going to click this one, for example. And remember, there's the black crown and the gold crown, and is bringing in and highlighting particular parts of your infographic. All right, this is looking good. And if I had more time, I'd probably play with the colors and maybe rework the heading and so on. But to save time, if this is all we wanted to do, if this is our infographic and we wanted to then export it, download it as a still image, we could go up to the top right-hand corner, click the download button, and save it as a PNG file, or a JPEG if we're going to share it online, or a PDF. Obviously, there's going to be PDF because we're Adobe and we created the PDF. So we're always going to have a PDF as an option. If you wanted to do a PNG with a transparent background, let's say you didn't want the background there at all, one of the things we're doing now is we're allowing you to change the background and moving to this option here, which makes your background transparent, which in this case isn't going to be great, but there might be other opportunities where you want to have that as a transparent background. And then when you download it as a PNG, it will be a transparent PNG, but you do need to make that change first. So I'm going to bring it back to the color that we had. That'll do. That's looking good. Haley and Elizabeth, how are you going? You having fun?
Yes.
I'm having a great time. I was almost going to add like a sky in the background, but you beat me back to the color.
Do you want to do that? If you go to the media tool and then choose background, or choose photos and find, oh, you found one of a sky.
I did, yeah.
Do you notice when you click on that image on the left-hand side, there should be a button that says something like make background or something? Is that
Backgrounds? There is a background one.
Yeah.
And when you click on it, it's sure. Elizabeth's
There
done
we
that for
go.
you. So
Thank you.
very
That's
nice.
great.
It's looking good. And what's happened then is automatically adjusted these layers. You can see all these layers appearing on the right-hand side. And so you can relayer things. This is a great way of introducing students to the concept of layering, which is the essence of Photoshop and the essence of Premiere Pro, and it's the essence of Illustrator. And so many design tools use layering. And so you can move layers up and down, and you can hide that if you want to, or bring it back up again with, I think, this tool here, the layers tool, that brings it back for you. So let's say we're finished with it, we can download it. The other thing we could do is we could share it online. If you click the share option, what this allows you to do by default, it'll take you to share it with your either Microsoft Teams environment or your Google Classrooms environment. Some other schools and universities use other learning management systems, and so they can set up their own what's called little APIs so that it goes straight to their learning management system as well. But that all happens in the back end. But right now, if I click share, it's probably because we're still editing. I mean, normally it comes up there. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, you can play with that in your own case, but it's a nice way of sharing. Share your design. What does it say here? Post it into the social media or schedule for later. That shouldn't be happening. Anyway, let's say that we do want to make this into more of an animation, into a video. So what we can do now is we can go up to the top right-hand corner, and when we click add, we can create a video. And this is where that timeline will appear down the bottom. If you hit the play button, it's just a still image playing on the video. But if we start changing the elements, like for instance, if I go to this heading and then go to the left-hand side and click the animation tool, I can decide to animate this heading into the story, maybe drift it in from the left over about 1.6 seconds with a bit more of a loud feel to it. There we go. And while it's in there, we can even have it animating like breathing to emphasize it while it's in that particular scene. And then when it leaves the scene, we can have it animate, maybe dropping it up, out. So now when I hit the play button, we're getting the animation that I've just designed by clicking a few buttons. And now that heading is animating. And we can do exactly the same with every different element on our story, so that we get the whole thing coming in at different times. And if you click this little button here that says show layer timing, then you can decide exactly when you want each feature to come in. So if I wanted this picture, for instance, to appear maybe halfway through that scene and animate in as a bungee, and while it's in there, let's have it also breathing. And then when it comes out of the scene, I might have it grow out of the scene over a period of maybe 2 seconds. You just play with those different tools. And now when I hit the play button, I've got my title, and then bang, that picture comes in as well. But of course, a video is not a video without audio and without music, really. We need to have some music. So we can jump to our media tool that we used before to get photos in. And this time we can move to our audio tab. We could do a voiceover to describe and talk about the infographic if we wanted to. And that is a very quick way of doing a recording of a voiceover. Or we can have a look at these amazing sound loops, of which there are thousands of them under different categories: acoustic, background, blues, classical, country, dance, electric, film, hip hop, you name it. If you click, say, and there's novelty and pop, if you click, say, pop and click view all, you've got another, hundreds almost of other pop music. The trick is to click the play button to preview it. And if you like it, then click the actual button, and that brings the soundtrack into your timeline. So now we've got music. And every time you've finished a scene, you can make the scene longer or shorter, depending on your music. You might want to change it with the music. You can then add another scene. And this time I might want to go to my media tool and go out of the music options and go into the video options. Maybe do a search for skills. Let's see if there's any videos that relate to skills. I don't know if, 1,436 little videos that relate to skills. Some are more animated than others. And I'll just quickly choose one. That'll do. I'm going to click on that one. So now that video appears in my second scene, and maybe I'll have a transition between them by clicking the little plus symbol. I can add a transition. There's only a cross dissolve at this stage. We're getting a whole lot more transitions built in because this is relatively new. I might make that short. If I zoom in on that timeline by clicking the little percentage button on the right, I can make that a bit shorter, but it really depends on the music. Let's have a listen to it. I'll probably pause at that point and trim it there and then bring in more things. Maybe I could duplicate this part of my infographic by doing a right click on it and duplicating it, and then moving it across to the third scene just by dropping and dragging it across, and get rid of some of the elements in the first part of the infographic. So I'm just highlighting the heading and maybe what this infographic's about, jump into that particular scene, and then bring in some more. I mean, you could just go to town on this. There's no limit to what you can create. And as I said earlier, it's browser-based. So it can be used on a Chromebook. If that's all you've got with your students is a Chromebook that just runs browser-based tools, this is perfect for you. It'll work on a low-powered laptop if that's all you've got at your school. As long as you've got internet, you've got access to this particular tool, which is just awesome. It's totally free of charge for any K-12 school, and it's free for any, that's what it means, it's totally free of charge. And of course, the full premium version is totally free is what I was trying to say. All right, we're just about out of time. Any questions, anything from the chat there, Hayley, that I may have missed?
Tani did ask if the music was royalty free, and I believe it is. Yes, that's correct, isn't it?
Yep, there's nothing here
Wonderful.
unless you go out of your way to go and find an image that's on Google Images, for instance, that is copyrighted and bring it in. So only you can break it in that sense. Only you can make it not copyright free by doing the wrong thing. Everything you bring in through Adobe Express is totally copyright free and royalty free.
Wonderful. And that was the only question. I think everyone's too busy getting into the session and creating themselves.
Nice. Hey, I've got a few little...
Does anyone else have any questions that they want to add to the chat while Tim just shows us this last thing?
Yeah, just while you're adding those questions, and I'm happy to hang around for a few minutes if anyone wants to chat, but you may or may not be aware that our summit is coming up next Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday is the main summit for any teacher, and we've got about 5,000 teachers coming to our summit online, obviously, most of them from the Philippines. they just love this sort of stuff, which is amazing. There's the link. I'm going to put it into the chat. If I can grab the link, I'm going to put it into the chat. There's no need to register because registrations have closed, but the link to the summit is on that site. You can just click on it and join us. You don't have to register anymore. I've got over 500 registrations and I have to process them manually. So I had to put a close on the registrations at some point. And most people won't register. They'll just come and join us when they can. It's all day Wednesday from 9 o'clock through the end of the day. But you'll notice on that site that we've got workshops running on the Tuesday afternoon as well. The Tuesday morning is for our Adobe Creative Educator community, of which we have 65,000 around the world who are part of that community. We haven't got time now to talk about joining that, but you'll find out more about that if you join our summit. And I encourage you to join us. It's school holidays for every state in Australia and in New Zealand, and we're going to get lots of interest. It's going to be a fabulous day. And just join the workshops that you want to. There'll be plenty on Adobe Express. There'll be lots on Adobe Firefly, which is the name of our generative AI tool. Plus our Pro tools are featured as well. And it's going to be awesome. We've got 35 different workshop opportunities for you, including an opportunity to do the Adobe Creative Educator Level 1 course, which is a micro-credentialed course. You'll get a Credly badge. I'll be running that on the Wednesday afternoon. There'll be 2 options for you to do that if you want to on Wednesday afternoon. So find out more through that link. We do sessions for students as well, and I'll put these into the chat. I'll put them both into the chat at the same time. One's for kids aged 10 to 14, and one is for kids aged 15 above, but it depends. You can mix that up. The 15 plus is for our Pro tools, and the 10 to 14s are generally based around Adobe Express. And last is we run events all the time. If you do want to catch up with us and be involved and register for any events, sometimes I run them in person. I'm planning a whole series of events in New South Wales coming up soon. Otherwise, just join us online, and they're all free. I only advertise our free events on this particular site. And the final one is my newsletter. I do a newsletter once a month. End of every month it goes out. I've now got 71,000 teachers who are on my newsletter, which is just incredible. So if you want to be on that email list, so you get my newsletter, that's the QR code. You can scan that and fill out that form. Otherwise, I'll put the link into the chat, and would love you to be part of our newsletter.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tim. That was a very informative session, and I think it will have given everyone lots of ideas on how they can leverage that Express tool, and touched on a few different little aspects of how we can create those multimodal texts and really engage students in demonstrating their learning in a really innovative way and on different types of tools as well. So thank you very much. I'm going to pop another link into the chat. This link is for the evaluation form for this session. If you would not mind completing that, your feedback is very valuable and helps us to plan future sessions and look at what we need, what you would like to learn about, so that we can provide sessions that are going to be useful to you in your teaching. I'll also share the QR code. So if you do want, you can scan the QR code to complete the evaluation form on your mobile device.